Yes! Look at this. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here and showing up and bringing your good energy into this room. The icon that is the grandmother of Juneteenth, Dr. Opal Lee, and her granddaughter, Dione Sims, are here, New Mexico, for the first time. My name is Rashan Ahmad. I am the chair of the Empower Black Futures Community Fund, which is a group sponsoring this event tonight. This is an absolute dream come true and a great kickoff to Juneteenth celebrations all across the world. Black visibility, Black history, recognition are so important in these moments where we get to be in community and celebrate out loud and be seen and heard, and I get to wear my little joint right here, are so dope. So let's make some noise for that, y'all. Let's make some noise for being a celebration. Real quick, the first Juneteenth was held on June 19th, 1866, which means Juneteenth celebrations have been happening for 152 years. I am a resident of Santa Fe, New Mexico, and here in Santa Fe, on the plaza, this marks our 4th year of celebrating, and those 4 years have been absolutely wonderful, though. And just to be real, a whole journey also. Lots of things like, with such a small Black population, people say, there's not even any Black people here. Why even celebrate Juneteenth? Or don't do it on the plaza. Do it somewhere else, not the city center. And, in 2021, we threw our first Juneteenth. It was absolutely wonderful. We spent a year trying to pass another ordinance to allow Juneteenth to have vendors, so we didn't just have Black folks singing and dancing on the plaza. And with help from folks in local government, big shout, Renee Villarreal. Thank you, homegirl. We were able to have, in 2023, last year, we not only have vendors, so we have a full spectrum of our Black community, but we also got a proclamation to have Juneteenth be an official day in Santa Fe, New Mexico. This year, we're gonna have a whole Juneteenth weekend out here. Check your programs. We have a whole Juneteenth weekend, and we have Dr. Opal Lee in Santa Fe, New Mexico, kicking off this event. So we're really, really proud of our growth here. Thank you so much. Our community is so beautiful. I got to give a big shout to all my folks in Albuquerque who have given us the blueprint. So much love and game. I see you. Thank you, Shani. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Hakeem. Thank you, Nima. We appreciate you, and just has helped us grow our Juneteenth event. So we're gonna kick off this tonight with a couple folks to set the tone for the evening. First, a song from the incomparable Staceywa Abbott, who's gonna be amazing, and some words of inspiration from Empower community board member and author of The Other Madisons, A Lost History of the President's Black Family, Betty Kearse. Please help me welcome Betty to the stage.
I am just so thrilled to be here, and I know you are too. This is just such a spectacular evening. In September 2016, something motivated then 89-year-old Opal Lee to step outside the front door of her home in Fort Worth, Texas, to begin a 1,400-mile journey to the nation's capital. That something was history. I heard her say in a recent radio interview that July 4th freed the land, but Juneteenth freed the people. Unseen, but marching solidly behind her that day, almost 8 years ago, were her formerly enslaved ancestors and those of millions of African Americans. Those ancestors always knew that they were far more than somebody's property. They had never questioned their own humanity, and they never lost sight of the hopes and dreams that they were certain they could now fulfill. Opal Lee decided that these extraordinary people who had built this nation literally should be honored by all Americans and never forgotten. Opal Lee's other motivation to head toward Washington, D.C., I believe, was the future. She was a teacher, and she had her eyes set on her children and her children's children and those of other African Americans. Opal Lee was determined that our young people would know that their enslaved ancestors were endowed with many God-given gifts, including belief in themselves and the unsurmountable sense of hope. And most important was that when these remarkable individuals passed away, they did not take their gifts to the grave with them. Instead, they passed them down to those of us alive today and to those to come in the future. On June 17th, 2021, President Joe Biden, in the presence of Opal Lee herself, signed into law the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act. Opal Lee's victory is truly something to sing about.
Good evening, everyone. Get myself together. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of live.
Good evening, Santa Fe. Good evening. It's a beautiful day at the St. Francis Auditorium in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Wouldn't you agree? Yes. A day like this doesn't happen without the generosity of a lot of kind people. I want to start by thanking our funders. Without you, this day does not happen. So bear with me as I celebrate their names. The Just Fund, the Celia Lipton Ferris and Victor W. Ferris Foundation Fund, the Santa Fe Community Foundation, Kathleen Blake and Bob Balance, the Mind the Gap Fund, La Fonda on the Plaza, the New Mexico Museum of Art, Lannan Foundation, the Just Woke Up Fund, Christina Flanagan and Tara Lewis, the Kuntz Parker Fund, and Santa Fe Audio Visual. We also want to thank Bill Hulquist, First National 1870, Michaels Valet, Representative Pamela Herndon, Rich Brown, and Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue. And of course, we really want to recognize the Empower Committee members. If you would raise your hand and be recognized wherever you are so people can see you. Thank you, thank you. I also want to thank the amazing team at the Santa Fe Community Foundation who worked tirelessly to pull many elements together to make this event possible. And a special shout out to our Donor Relations Associate, Desiree Soriano. So our President and CEO of Santa Fe Community Foundation, Chris Gett, is here. Well, and somebody tried to steal my thunder, but it's his birthday. So on the count of 3, let's all say, happy birthday, Chris. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Chris! And there are current and former Santa Fe Community Foundation board members present. I'll just ask you to raise your hand so that people know where you are. Take a moment to raise your hand. Dion, all of you. Beth, I see you. Dolores, Deb, Helena, Leslie, Trisha, thank you all. So I'll say that the Santa Fe Community Foundation has been serving northern New Mexico for more than 42 years. In fact, we are currently the largest nonprofit funder in the state. And in that 42 years, we have granted out in the range of $130 million to nonprofit communities. As a testament to the foundation's commitment to ensuring all people have a voice, 31 years ago, the board and leadership, with a seed gift from the late, great Alan Hauser, started the Native American Advised Fund. And 27 years ago, the Envision Fund, serving the LGBTQ+ community, was started. Combined, these two funds have granted out over $2 million. The Committee of Advisors originate from their respective communities, and they have agency to make grant-making decisions based on their deep knowledge and direct understanding of the community. And I gotta tell you that for me, it was a special day when we announced Empower Black Futures Community Fund, supporting Black life, arts, and culture in New Mexico. I will say that the fund is still in its infancy, but that is where many of you come in. For each donation made to Empower, 50% goes to grant-making support today. And then the other 50% is set aside to build interest for future generations. So I ask and encourage each of you to think about the role you'd like to play in making this fund successful. Every gift at whatever level is meaningful. So on the back of your program is a QR code that leads you to a page where you can contribute to this fund. I thank you in advance for your consideration. And now, because I never want you to forget the name of the fund, I'd like you to answer the next 3 questions with the word empower, okay? So what is the name of the new fund at Santa Fe Community Foundation supporting Black life, arts, and culture? Empower. And what is the name of the fund that will provide grants starting next June to help meet the needs specific to the Black community? Empower. And what is the name of the fund that will serve as a resource for future Black New Mexicans? Empower. Thank you. I do want to say that if you have questions, you want to talk about it, you have a specific idea, I stand ready to sit and visit with you. My contact information is in the program, and I would welcome a conversation from any of you. All right, speaking of empowering, it's time to welcome to the stage some very inspiring people. All of their bios are in the program, and you can read those when you get a moment. I will just share a few thoughts as I bring them to the stage. First, our thoughtful moderator, Hakeem Bellamy. He is a poet, he's a father, he's a husband, he's a soon-to-be attorney, he's a 20-year resident of New Mexico, and a person who loves to deeply interrogate his subjects. He is poised for great things, and we are amazingly fortunate to have him moderating today's conversation. Welcome to the stage, Hakeem Bellamy. Talk about incredible. These 2 women are sunshine in a bottle. Miss Dione Sims lives her life in service. She is a devoted wife, mother, and as we know, a very devoted granddaughter. She is there when her grandmother needs her, and she lifts up the message of freedom to everyone and all generations. She always has a smile on her face. And then there is Miss Opal Lee. She will be the first to tell you that she is all of your grandmother. Amen. And when you hear her talk, you will feel and understand how much she deeply cares about each of us. Beauty runs through her every being. And she is loads of fun, too. The Energizer Bunny has nothing on Miss Opal. It is my distinct honor to welcome to the stage Miss Dione Sims and Dr. Opal Lee. So representatives from all aspects of New Mexico are coming to bring you glad tidings. We will start with our amazing Congresswoman Teresa Leger Fernandez from the 3rd Congressional District, followed by State Representative Pamela Herndon speaking on behalf of leaders that she will introduce, and finally, Santa Fe's Director of Community Development, Rich Brown.
Oh, really? Dr. Opal Lee, you say that I got to meet you outside and tell everybody that you are their grandmother, so abuela, bienvenidos a Santa Fe. So, you know, it is not often that we get to be in the presence of living history. And the living history that you are is the embodiment of the idea that we must always remember history. Because we are all living history. And there are those who have a greater impact on it than others. And Abuela Opal Lee is one such individual. And I am so honored to be able to be here on the same stage with you. So thank you. I was very lucky in that I got to Congress at a time when we wanted to make things happen and get things done. I believed that we needed to do what we needed to get done to protect what we love. And what we love is indeed the fact that our communities are as diverse and beautiful as they are. But what we love is also being as honest with ourselves as we have to be, to remember the sadness and the difficulties and the horrors and the wrongs that have been committed against so many of our communities. And Dr. Opal Lee saying we must remember Juneteenth, we must remember that there was that time that elapsed where justice and freedom was not given to all. We must remember that. That's what the beauty of Juneteenth is. And I was so grateful that I got to be a co-sponsor of the bill to make Juneteenth the federal holiday. And I will just end quickly on this concept of time, the time that was lost to those individuals who still suffered and were enslaved, and the time that was lost in the decades that this legislation was brought and failed and failed and failed. But the time that we have now gained by celebrating it, and the time that we must each dedicate ourselves to the idea that we will empower each other's voices as we move forward, knowing that darkness in the history and knowing that we are history makers to make sure that everybody knows about this and that everybody is going to do something about it in the future. So muchísimas gracias y bienvenidos otra vez. Thank you so much, Doctor.
So I am Representative Pamela Herndon. And deeply honored to serve in the House of Representatives for the state of New Mexico. But today I get to stand with some of my colleagues for both the House and the Senate to present to Dr. Opal Lee. We are going to present a special certificate where we are recognizing you in our land of enchantment. So Dr. Lee, whereas President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1, 1863, declaring all enslaved people in Confederate states to be free. And whereas enslaved people in Texas did not learn about their freedom until June 19, 1865, when 2,000 Union troops arrived in Galveston Bay, Texas, to inform the enslaved people that they were free. And whereas the previously enslaved people named June 19 as Juneteenth to commemorate the day they learned of their freedom, and whereas Opal Lee was born on October 7th, 1926, resided in Fort Worth, Texas, and celebrated Juneteenth with her family in Texas. And whereas Opal Lee helped to lead a national movement to have Juneteenth recognized as a national holiday by symbolically walking 2.5 miles a day from her home in Fort Worth, Texas, to Washington, D.C., to request President Joe Biden to sign Senate Bill 475 in the 117th Congress, naming Juneteenth as a national holiday. And whereas on June 17, 2021, President Joe Biden signed Senate Bill 475 to recognize June 19th, Juneteenth, as a federal holiday. And whereas on May 3rd, 2024, President Joe Biden awarded Opal Lee the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest honor bestowed upon a civilian. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the State of New Mexico that recognition be extended to Opal Lee for her outstanding work in promoting and helping establish the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act, providing for a legal public holiday in the United States, marking the end of slavery in the Confederate States. Be it further resolved that Opal Lee, also known as the grandmother of Juneteenth, be welcomed to the state of New Mexico during her visit in the land of enchantment. So, Dr. Opal Lee, I'd like you to meet my colleagues who are here with me to recognize you. We have the Majority Leader of the Senate. He's none other than Senator Peter Wirth. Would you please stand? We also have the Senate Caucus Leader. He is the first African American to serve in the Senate in the state of New Mexico, Senator Harold Pope. We have with us the outstanding and the one and only Senator Antoinette Cedillo Lopez with us today. And from the House of Representatives, we have, and listen to this name, Representative Janelle Anyanornu. Would you please stand? And thank you.
Dr. Lee, my name's Rich Brown, and my 90-year-old mother has come to visit this week. She could not make it tonight, but she sends her warm greetings, and she also says, "Right on, sister." So thank you for coming to Santa Fe. As I said, my name's Rich Brown. I'm the Director of Community Development for the City of Santa Fe, and my role focuses on quality of life and development here in our city different. That ranges from land use and planning, from affordable housing, from economic development, arts and culture, and tourism. So there's a lot going on in this city, and we're welcoming this young lady to come tonight. So we believe that this is what is great about our system. We're glad that you guys are here tonight. On the subject of thanks, I'd like to extend a round of applause, actually, to Miss Sandra Session-Robertson, who's behind me. Great job she did tonight. She worked with Desiree on the team and the Community Foundation team. I want to say thank you to them, too. And then Rashawn Ahmad is over there, and I want to say thank you to him. He's talked me into joining the Empower board, so I got more work to do on top of what I just told you, but I'm very excited about that. I'm thankful for you, Dr. Lee, to be here tonight to speak. I'm exceptionally proud of the achievements and acknowledgments on behalf of the Black community and the real history of the United States. And with that, I just want to say Mayor Weber could not make it tonight. He is doing battle in our city council, so I'm going to speak on his behalf for a proclamation to Dr. Lee. Whereas, on June 19th, 1939, when Dr. Opal Lee was 12 years old, 500 white rioters vandalized and burned down her family home, forcing the Lee family to move several blocks away. And whereas in 1952, Dr. Lee received her bachelor's degree in elementary education and later earned her master's degree in counseling and guidance. And whereas, after working 15 years as an educator for the Fort Worth Independent School District, and after 9 years as a homeschool counselor, Dr. Lee retired in 1977. I was just born around that time. Whereas, following retirement, Dr. Lee became involved in the Fort Worth community causes and helped find the Tarrant County Black Historical and Genealogical Society and helped to organize Fort Worth's annual Juneteenth celebration. And whereas for decades, Dr. Lee campaigned to make Juneteenth a federal holiday, promoting the ideas of leading a 2.5-mile walk each year, representing the 2.5 years it took for news of the Emancipation Proclamation to reach Texas. And whereas in September 2016, at the age of 89, Dr. Lee conducted a symbolic walk from Fort Worth, Texas to Washington, D.C., arriving in January 2017, hoping to plead the case for a federal holiday directly to President Barack Obama. And whereas, She not only marched in Texas, but also in Fort Smith and Little Rock, Arkansas, Las Vegas, Nevada, Madison and Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Atlanta, Georgia, Selma, Alabama, and the Carolinas, where she promoted a petition containing 1.6 million signatures for a Juneteenth federal holiday at change.org. And whereas in June 2021, at the ripe age of 94, Dr. Lee's efforts succeeded as a bill to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. It was passed by Congress and signed into law by President Joe Biden. And whereas Dr. Opal Lee, a longtime activist known as the grandmother of Juneteenth, received the country's highest civilian honor, as they said, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And on behalf of the mayor, I now, therefore, proclaim, New Mexico proclaims it, and the city of Santa Fe, that we are saying the official day is today, May 29th, 2024, as Dr. Opal Lee Day. Thank you very much.
We want to thank our New Mexico friends for their leadership and very much for providing those beautiful flowers. Hakeem, you have the floor.
Good to see you again, Miss Doctor. Doctor, you got a doctorate from SMU earlier this month. Yeah. Y'all can make some noise for that. Dr. Opal Lee, Miss Dione, who I got to meet last night. We got a lot to talk about, don't we? Sims. A Sims. She's a Sims. Y'all keep track now. Before we take off, I want to make sure that we have everything we need. You got water? It's the desert. It's the high desert, so you got to have water. And my timekeeper, amen. Okay, we ready to go. How y'all feeling? Good. They look good, don't they? You look good.
Oh, you say the nicest things, ladies.
So, Ms. Dione and Dr. Opal, I'm going to start with, I heard you say something in the interview, and I feel like it's a good place to start.
Okay.
You said this in a 2022 interview, and you said this, quote, "I tell you, I don't know if I want to embrace the celebrity status. I still want to be known as the little old lady in tennis shoes getting in everybody else's business and having a damn good time doing it," end quote. So, yeah, how's that going for you?
I am enjoying it immensely. And I need these young people to know that I'm your grandma. Understand that. By another mother, okay?
That's right. All the same mother. So we're going to spend a little bit of time just getting to know you better in the beginning, and then I'll let you guys drive the conversation wherever you want to take it. But I just feel for some of the folks who did not, well, no one didn't do their homework, but you're a teacher, so we always have to pretend someone didn't do their homework. As a career, do we have any teachers in the audience? Make some noise for our teachers. Yes, make some noise for our teachers. Can you tell us a little bit about your teaching career and what that, how that helped you educate a nation?
I taught third grade, 8-year-olds so long, I was beginning to act like them. So they gave me another position. I was the visiting teacher. And my responsibility was to see that the kids were in school. It meant shoes, clothes, food, sometimes a place to stay. But we got the job done. And when I retired, that followed me. People still needed food, clothes. And so we started a food bank. We would take food to people, these boxes, and that particular place where we were getting the food burned. Now there's this huge facility behind my house, and it was up for sale for $1,400,000 or $500,000, and I had nerve to ask for it. And the little group I had the people leased it to us for $4,000 a month. I nearly had a hemorrhage. Where we gonna get it at $4,000? But do you know we paid it for 11 months, and the month we didn't have the money, those people came to us and said, "You've been doing a good job. We know you're feeding some 500 families a day." And they gave us that facility.
All right. Look at God, right? Won't he do it?
He did it. He did it.
You know what? So Miss Opal told me last night that she was a deacon. And so y'all, some of y'all know what that means.
Deaconess.
And so that's what prayer can do, right?
Yes.
Amen. Amen. Dione, how did you get into the family business of national holidays and such?
Well, I had a desire to see young people come together. So in '94, I started an activity that brought all races together because I saw this encroachment of stereotypes and division in the heart of young people, which wasn't there when I was growing up, and I could see it coming. And so I did that for more than 10 years, and I started Unity Unlimited as a nonprofit to help bring people together. In 2014, I actually, before that, had always worked on Juneteenth with my grandma. I was in the back office, all right? Being outside in the hot was not my thing. So I worked on souvenir books and that kind of thing. But in 2014, I was actually in the park, and I saw her complete this almost 3-mile parade route at 86 and said, "I am such a bad granddaughter."
Slacking, see?
Just slacking. She is working too hard to do this. I mean, she just needs to come into the new millennium, all right? Get some social media, website, you know, just use the technology. And so I asked her if I could help her to do Juneteenth, and that started the first one that we did was in 2015. And that was when we celebrated the 150th anniversary of Juneteenth. And from there, we've kind of grown and elevated. Now, to the point of being a national holiday, because we were, you know, working with the National Juneteenth Observance Foundation, Dr. Ronald Myers, who had been doing all the footwork, lobbying the legislature, you know, trying to get Juneteenth as a national day of observance. And so I was happy in our little corner of Fort Worth. But when she comes to me in 2016 and tells me that Juneteenth, it's taken too long for it to be made a national holiday, and she wanted to talk to President Obama about it, and she was going to walk to D.C., I went, and I, you know, did my Google, you know.
It's more than 3 miles, right?
You know,
yeah.
I told her, I said, you know, that's 1,440 miles. I said, President Obama will be out of office by the time you get there, doing 2.5 miles in the morning, 2.5 miles in the afternoon. Yeah, and she says, well, he's not going to make me walk that long. I'm going to get the attention, and he's going to call me to the White House, and we're going to sit down and talk about what's taking so long. And I remember calling my dad and asking, you know your mom wants to walk to Washington. And he said, well, you're not going to be able to stop. I said, I just want to make sure I'm not going to get in trouble for helping her fulfill this mission. So I set out, you know, to build and to orchestrate the plan to fulfill what she wanted to do. And so with that, she started on September 1st of 2016 at 89, you know, and she literally was going to do the 1440 straight through the map that we identified. And so we started. And if anybody knows Dallas-Fort Worth, there's this street called Lancaster that cuts straight through Fort Worth and Dallas, and we just stayed on it until somebody had promised her an RV that was going to help us, you know, move her around, you know, so she could rest in between stops. And what happened, Granddaughter?
They reneged.
See?
They kept their RV. But do you know I didn't miss her? I didn't miss a step. I mean, somebody took me from, I think it was Dallas to
Shreveport?
Yeah, Shreveport, then Texarkana, then to Little Rock. I was all over the place. And people people joined me. People understood what we were doing. And I've been asked, did you have any negative things happen? And I had to say no, because the only thing I had happen was I tried to hand a man a flyer, and he wouldn't take it. And I decided he was late for work, and he didn't have time.
Yeah, he was. You know, that's right. You know, just in being very fortunate to be able to spend some time with you last night, I left just thinking, she has so much more energy than me. And I just want to know, like, what. The energy is one thing, right? Because you have this schedule. You just flew in from Japan, and you know, you slept a little. Maybe you didn't sleep on the plane. You watch movies on the plane. That's what you told me. You watch movies the whole flight. But that both of you, right? Both of your stories. This is a national thing you've achieved, but it didn't start out like that. Like, you know, the saying is like, all politics is local, and it's just a saying until y'all do that. And so I'm just struck by the work that you were doing just in the Fort Worth area. What can we learn from that here in Santa Fe as we try to impact things that are larger than us?
If you start something, keep it up. Don't stop. If you feel in your heart it's good for you, for your family, for your city, for your country, go to it. Don't give it up. As young people, you have such good ideas. And I want you to realize that you are the persons, you are the people who are to get us out of the quagmire that we're in. You say quagmire? There's still too much homelessness and joblessness and health care that some of us can get and the others can't. And climate change that we are responsible for. It's our responsibility to alleviate these things because we are the greatest country in the world and others will follow. I'm going to take this opportunity to say, make yourself a committee of one to change somebody's mind. You know, people who aren't on the same page we're on, change their minds. Not going to happen in a day. You're going to have to work at it. But if people have been taught to hate, they can be taught to love. And it's up to you.
So with that kind of energy and enthusiasm, I think it's election season. You ever thought about making a run? Just making a run at it. Just dark horse outside. I mean, just think about it. Think about it, Miss Opal. Think about it.
Oh, I'm needed at home.
I'm going to throw us forward in time now. We have a Juneteenth that's coming up, and I know that last night you were telling me about plans for this nationwide walks, all 50 states. Can you share a little bit about that with our audience?
I'd like to share it with you, but Dione has the plan.
Go ahead, Dione.
So
Let us know, Dione.
You do it.
So you guys know that she walked from 2016 to 2019. In 2020, the pandemic hit, and so that stopped going us around. We did her first 2.5-mile annual walk in 2020, and during the pandemic, and she walked, and it was just supposed to be her, and we invited folks to follow us in their cars because we were trying to be safe. And so if you take a look at YouTube in 2020, you'll see there were over 300 cars that followed behind Miss Opal and us as we, had a contingent walking. And folks were just like, well, we're outside, so evidently we can be together. And so we did that in 2020. In 2021, you'll notice that's the year that President Biden signed the bill that made it a national holiday. As we make the circle from leaving 2020, we were having, the Senate was supposed to vote on making Juneteenth a holiday, and they lost a unanimous vote by 1 vote. Ron Johnson from Wisconsin voted against it. And so when we delivered the 1.5 million signatures to Congress in September, our intention was to give each of the representatives and congresspeople their ballots. We sent all 1.5 million signatures to Ron Johnson's district office. And so I have to thank my husband, who's there in the audience, because we took all those to FedEx. I mean, because we had them there, and we took them to FedEx and delivered them, labeled them and everything, and sent them to his office. So when he got back, he found all these things. So when we get to 2021 in February, we do a national press conference at the National Press Club. And that day is when the new elected House and Senate both put bills in the hopper for Juneteenth to be a national holiday, reinstating it. And I didn't think that we had, you know, the support that we did, because I get the call on June 15th congratulating us that there was no longer, Ron Johnson removed his one objection, and Senate passed it unanimously. It went over to the House, and we were watching the vote on television. And before they got to the final count, I get a call from the White House asking Dione Sims, and I'm saying, yes, this is the White House. And I'm like, how did they get my number?
Oh, they got people.
They got people.
They got people. They talking to their thing like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the president would like to have Ms. Opal at the White House at the signing of the bill. And I had told her in 2016, when they make this a holiday, you will be there. And so this being fulfillment, I'm like, sure, of course. We want to hear tomorrow. Okay. So, you know, we got our team. Mark, I have to really thank Scott Cullither and the event team for getting us there overnight with grand fashion. And we were there in the White House June 17, 2021 to see that happen. I asked my grandmother, I asked her, now that it's a holiday, do you have to walk on Saturday, on the 19th? And she said, of course. I thought for sure we could put her in a golf cart, you know, because we had been up since, you know, that Wednesday all the way to that Saturday. And she walked the whole thing. You guys can find it on YouTube. She walked the whole thing. And since then, we have had an annual walk on Juneteenth every year since. Now, the plan is for the walks to be symbolic and not just a holiday. It's about doing a temperature check on, are we any closer to freedom for everybody now since it's been made a holiday? So I want there to be an Opal's Walk, even after she transitions this existence, that we, on the 19th of June, remember her, her advocacy, her tenacity, but more than that, more than remembering her, remembering what freedom means. Because Juneteenth celebrates freedom, but you have to ask, freedom from what? What are we celebrating freedom from? But it allows us to have conversations about what happened. It's history. It did not, you know, it's not to be whitewashed, but it is to be remembered so we don't do it again. And so, we have a branded Opal's Walk for host cities. We work with nonprofits, and we ask them to walk with us simultaneously. So this year will be Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York, and Dallas. So if you're not at a host city in one of those areas, you can walk virtually with us. Walk 2.5 miles. You can do it on a treadmill, at the gym, on a bicycle, 10 times around a high school track. Whatever, do your 2.5 and post it, because what that does, like the petition did, it allows folks to see the support that Juneteenth has for unifying and uniting people to understand, yes, Juneteenth is an African-American holiday, but it's inclusive of everybody because it allows everybody to be a part of the solution. And so my goal for 2026, and Raheem, I need you to help me with this, is there to be a Opal's Walk for Freedom in all 50 states, because in 2026, the nation turns 250 years old. And we will celebrate 4th of July like you will not believe in the nation's capital. And in 2026, I want her walking in D.C. so that we can celebrate freedom, what, Granddaughter? From the 19th of June to the 4th of July.
And you must remember this, the 4th of July freed the land. Juneteenth freed the people. Don't you forget it.
So we were talking about this last night, and I know what kind of magic and powers y'all had, right? And you were talking about from June 19th, right, to that other Independence Day. And that, I'm like, that's like a 2-week period. Can we get 2 weeks off? You think we can work? Can y'all work on that? Can y'all work on? I feel like we work for this country for a long time without pay.
Don't
so
push.
I say,
Don't push it. Don't push
saying.
it. All right. You got the 2 days. All right. Celebrate on the 2 days.
You know, you also talked about, and I don't want this to be lost, because we talked a little bit about it last night, trying to get some involvement from network television. So for the folks who, you know, the first Juneteenth, we were all just dazed and confused. Did this really happen? The second Juneteenth, y'all didn't know how to act because y'all had an extra day off. So now this Juneteenth, it's like Opal Lee watch parties, and you can join on TV maybe?
NBC. So NBC is our broadcast sponsor. And so they will be streaming it on NBCDFW.com and the Roku and FAST channels. And of course, YouTube will have it. So that's why we're asking folks that are virtually walking, because you can register to walk on opalswalk.com. You'll get a t-shirt and $6, and we'll get to talk about this, and 19 cents will go to the building of the National Juneteenth Museum in Fort Worth on land where she had a local Juneteenth museum for decades. So it's a fundraiser, but it also helps our nonprofit do our work.
So in the opening remarks and kind of telling a little bit about your story when we were introducing you, and only because it's new news, not wanting to go back there, we talked about the house being burnt down when you were 12. But you've since inherited a new property, I'm told. Can you talk a little bit about?
Oh, I thought he'd never ask. Would you believe when I was 12, that my parents moved into a neighborhood where we weren't wanted? My mom had this house fixed up so nice. And on the 19th of June, people started gathering. The newspaper says there was 500 of them, and the police were there. My dad came with a gun from work, and police told him if he busted a cap, that they would let the mob have us. Our parents sent us to friends several blocks away, and they left under cover of darkness. Those people tore that place asunder. They took the furniture out and burned it. They did despicable things. But our parents never, ever discussed it with us. Never. So I buried it until a reporter,
she buried it deep.
2 or 3 years ago, brought it up and began publishing it about it. But the response of people has been phenomenal. We as a people must come together. We just have to survive. And so I want you to remember that it's our responsibility to turn hate into love, and it can be done.
She did not tell you. She didn't answer his question. So the thing is that she has now been given. She had sought to find who owned that property for years. The corner of Annie and New York, to acquire it back into our family. And we found out that Habitat for Humanity had recently acquired it, and she wanted to buy it back. She asked them, and they said no.
But they gave it to me.
There you go. And they have since partnered with Texas Capital Bank to build her a dream house on that land, and we will be dedicating it on June 14th, and she will be moving in.
And I tell everybody from the house where I live, I'm not taking a thing from there but my toothbrush. There's so much stuff until either the city or my neighborhood association, they're going to have to make a museum out of it. I'm not moving that stuff. I'm just not moving it.
Well, I feel like if you just put the word out, a bunch of people would show up and help get it done. Like Dione said, y'all got a good team. If we're fortunate, we get to be part of your team too, right?
Yes, sir.
If we're fortunate, we get to be part of your team too. Just thinking about childhood, right? All of our childhoods, and I bring this question because I was in a meeting as we begin our Juneteenth preparations here in New Mexico. I was in a meeting, organizing meeting in Albuquerque. Shout out to Naima Pickett. But one of the questions that was our what do you call it? You know, the opening question, right? Icebreaker question.
Icebreaker.
Thank you. Was, when did you first learn about Juneteenth? And it was curious of this mixed group of people of various races sitting around the table. Some found out about it when they got the email for the meeting, and others, right, found out about it like when their parents taught them. What was your story about when you found out about what Juneteenth was and how to celebrate it?
Well, in Marshall, where I was born, we'd go to the fairground, and there'd be music and food, there'd be speeches and food, there'd be booths and food and food and food.
Don't forget the food.
Fort Worth, not so much. People gathered at their own homes, but Mrs. Roller, Lenora Roller, in her 90s, didn't wear glasses, tall, straight. She had a Juneteenth in Sycamore Park. Would you believe there were 30,000 people in a 3-day period, 10,000 people a day? And did we have fun? Oh, wow. Well, we knew when it was time to go home, somebody simply pulled a plug and the lights went out and we went home. Except this time, I got on a flatbed truck and put that thing back in, and we partied till dawn.
Troublemaker from the beginning, I just tell you.
So, Juneteenth are not just festivals. There's so much that needs to be known. We begin with a flag raising these days, and then a breakfast of prayer. Not to be confused with a prayer breakfast where you're going to sit down and eat a lot of food. Prayer breakfast is so beautiful. Of course, there's a Miss Juneteenth pageant, and Your Voice Unleashed, where the young people of all the communities, all nationalities get together, and they do mime and art and music and whatever, and then they give a program at the end of the week. And what else?
Empowering You.
Oh, Empowering You, where we have booths. People learn to buy a home, straighten up their credit. They learn so many things. So Juneteenth is not just a festival, and I want you to know that.
Yes, yes. Dione, what's it like? I mean, you just came out the womb. You knew what Juneteenth was. You were like, let's do this. I mean, what was it like for you as you kind of had your own kind of reckoning? Because there's lots of holidays we celebrate, and then there's a moment when we realize what it's about. And like, what was that? What was that for you?
And so for me, it's when I started, again, working with her for years behind the scenes. It was what your grandmother did, so you helped her, right? But as I came to understand and develop Unity Unlimited as an organization, when I asked my grandmother if I could help her take it to the next level, that's when it really hit me how powerful Juneteenth could be, what it could mean for the country. And she and I, you know, were on parallel tracks, and God brought us into this way so that I could be here to help her, because we both feel that unity and working together is how you get things done and bridge that divide, right? So that's when Juneteenth meant something more to me than just being in the hot park, you know, on a summer day. Because I could see the potential of Juneteenth being that springboard that gets us past the blame and shame. Because it gives us the opportunity to share and talk and get to know. And so that was, so 2015, 2016 is when it became real to me, the power of Juneteenth. And as such now, it's a part of my legacy.
Amen.
And would you believe the White House has invited me to Juneteenth on the lawn? I'm a happy camper.
Ms. Opal, technical question. Will they still refer to the Juneteenth on the lawn as a cookout on the White House lawn? Will they still call it a cookout?
Sure enough.
Okay, sure enough. Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. I want to talk about becoming an author. I believe there's a book. There will be books, I'm told.
Thought you never asked. I thought that the children should be aware of Juneteenth, the good, the bad, the ugly. And so I wrote this little book about Juneteenth that tells them about how it started. And it ends like this. Let me show you. It ends with me at the White House and the president signing the bill. But see that your schools and your libraries have copies of it. We got acres of them.
Well, it just feels like the right fit, right? From education to organizing community to now creating a manual for the next generation of young people to kind of understand what Juneteenth is and how to celebrate it. And I just want to say, because of your intergenerational connection, it feels like the next step to make sure that Juneteenth has legs and that the next generation understands what it's all about.
And I think that's the important part of it all, is that her generation and my father's generation celebrated it because it was what they knew to do. Now we have to be intentional in celebrating it so that the young people understand that it's a national holiday for good reason. And because a lot of them that I talked to wanted to know, why are we celebrating Texas being told late and working an extra 2.5 years? But our goal is to help them to see the bridge that it leads them into to bring the country together and to bring healing. And so if we can get them able to see their self in the story, like I did, right? And the fact that when you talk about what was the right thing, because when you think about the Quakers that, you know, helped to free the enslaved by doing the Underground Railroad, they risked family, life, you know, liberty even, to help a hurting humanity. And so when you think about the Southern Underground Railroad into Mexico, where slaves escaping from the South, who would try to go north from Texas, right, into Mexico, because Mexico abolished slavery in 1824 before we did and offered asylum to slaves. You have to understand that it's not just a black thing. Juneteenth is for everyone, and giving people the opportunity to be included in celebrating the African American experience only helps us as an ethnicity, as a race, because it's the right thing to do. I have a saying that says it's not a black thing, it's not a white thing, it's the right thing. And hurting humanity is the right thing to do. And that's what Juneteenth affords us the ability to do.
I love that.
I'm so happy about how Juneteenth is going these days. I could do a holy dance, but the kids say when I try, I'm twerking, whatever that is.
And so I just tell you, you can be your own judge. Go out on YouTube and look for Dallas Morning News, Opal Lee in 2021, and see if you don't think she's twerking. I tell you.
That wasn't the video with the WNBA basketball players. That was a different one.
That's a different one.
He was doing the Dougie in that one. Something else. Yeah, right. I love how you add, and I wanted to talk about that because out here, you know, with our mestizo, mestis, yahe, Rasta Cosmica, like we are, New Mexico is a thing, right? And so showing those connections between people, kind of bringing down those walls cosmically, genetically, in our blood quantum is a thing. But you just got back from Japan. And I know that was one of the first things we talked about just because your flight was delayed, right? But we talked about that, and I asked, you know, I'm in school, so I was like, I'll ask a dumb question, like, what's going on with Juneteenth in Japan? Like, what was y'all out there for?
Well, Ms. Opal had received an invitation to come and spread the education about Juneteenth with her book to the young people on the base at Yokosuka. And it built into a tour of sharing. We did 3 of these fireside chats. One at Legacy Foundation Japan, one at the USO on the base, and then one at the U.S. Embassy with Ambassador Rahm Emanuel in Japan. And so it was really about educating because there's a lot of us Americans in Japan. We're there. We have a naval base there. And so LaTanya Whitaker said that she got texts and Facebook posts saying Happy Juneteenth, you know, on the 21st when it was made a holiday in 2021. And she's like, what's a Juneteenth? Now, she had been born in Mississippi and did not know, and been in Japan for 20 years, did not know about Juneteenth. And now she's getting all these, you know, Happy Juneteenth text messages. And so she had to go, and she's like, how did I not know about this? And how did, you know, coming up in school, and so she took it upon herself to establish celebrating Juneteenth in Tokyo, in Japan, where she was. And that's how it got from Texas to all the rest of the places. People found out, took it with them, and celebrated. And folks said, what are you celebrating? I'm celebrating freedom. And the freedom from what? Girl, you know. So
girl from everything.
Let me tell you what we had to endure. And so with that, they are going to be doing our first international Opal's Walk for Freedom in Tokyo, Japan, on the 19th of June.
But let me tell you something.
Please, please.
All that is marvelous. We are going to have the National Juneteenth in Fort Worth, Texas. And 26. I tell you, I couldn't be more happy. And so I want you to watch the progress because all 50 states are going to be able to have something about Juneteenth in this National Juneteenth Museum.
Exactly.
Yeah. She on fire. She on fire for that. It reminds me, and I'm being conscious of our time, we talked a little bit, speaking of museums, there's a museum you're building that we're going to get done, and then there's also the I call it the Blacksmith, the African American History Museum and Culture in Washington, D.C. You said the first time you went in there, you had to make a call to Director Bunch about something was not there, apparently. Something was not there.
No Juneteenth. I was up from the bottom to the top and back again looking for something from Juneteenth and nothing in there. I talked to Bunch, what's his name? Lonnie Bunch. Oh, I got on some phone they had in there and I'm saying, bro, you got to do better than that. You got to do better. And sure enough, they got Juneteenth in the National Museum. That Smithsonian.
They had to fix up real fast. Rashawn and I was talking about that. I was like, can you imagine the executive? He's done amazing things. Shout out to Lonnie Bunch. But getting that call and then being like, grandmother Juneteenth on the line. It's like getting called to the principal office. You like, Dad! She know I'm here? Yeah, put her through. How you doing?
Oh, gee, people have been so good and so understanding, and Juneteenth is spreading over the world. Can you believe in Tokyo, Japan? And here I am out here, and oh, you better call me.
Well, our beautiful time is coming to an end, but I want to let y'all end it with the message to us as we're in the thick, as you've heard, many of us are in the thick of our Juneteenth preparations for this year. We know what we need to be doing next year. You already told us what we need to be doing next year. That's actually in 2026, right?
Next year to build for 2026.
To build for 2026.
You got to get the program down right, so 2026 is
so the dress rehearsal in 2025. But what would be your kind of beloved marching orders to us?
So my marching orders would be to remember that you have a voice, and one of the freedoms that we sometimes take for granted is our voice to vote. The previously enslaved did not have a voice in politics and what was affecting them. And so your voice is your vote. Don't take it for granted. Don't be apathetic about it. And I tell young people when we go to schools, especially in high schools, that you do know in 17 years you could be president. Because you don't take, it only have to be 35 years old. And so don't allow your social media spaces rule you out. You could be your own worst enemy by retweeting, reposting, and loving somebody's tweet that makes no sense. And then because nothing on the internet dies. And I tell them that we do a lot of push to get people registered to vote, but we really need to have good people to vote for. And so with that, get it in your heart and in your mind to be a part of the solution, be a part of making those changes, making the things that you know that you see that you don't like, to change those things. And so with that, that's my thing, is to encourage people to be a part of the state legislature, be a part of the school board, be a part of your city council, because your voice matters, your ideas matter. And even if, you don't think anybody is thinking the way you are, step out and you'll find that people who are waiting for someone to say something, and they'll rally behind you and they'll help you. But don't just sit on good ideas to change, to help, to impact, just because you're the only one you feel is, thinking that way. Others are too. They just need someone to step out that they'll support.
Yeah. You guys are an example of how fast a committee of one can become a committee of some. Ms. Opal, what parting words do you have for us as we begin our Juneteenth preparations?
Oh, I think I've already told them that they got to make themselves a committee of one.
Yes.
I just want them to know that I don't, at my age, what am I, 97?
Scorpio.
I think the Lord's gonna have to catch me, because there's so much that needs to be done. And there are things in your neighborhood that you need to attend to. I know there are homeless people and jobless people wherever we live. In my city, I think the mayor has decided of the 250 homeless people that have been identified, that she's taken some 90 of them. They've gotten monies, maybe from the feds, I don't know where, but they are going to put them in homes. They are going to supervise and see that they get jobs, and going to see that those have health problems are attended to. And if that works out, they're going to do something about the rest of them. You can do the same cotton picking thing in your city. I keep saying we're the richest country in the world, and there's no reason for us to have the kind of things. Tokyo, ooh, wouldn't it be wonderful? I didn't see no homeless people in Tokyo. I didn't see no jobless people in Tokyo. Maybe I didn't stay long enough, but there's an example that we can follow. And I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Right on. Thank you, Dr. Lee. Thank you, Dr. Lee. Thank you, Ms. Dione Sims.
Cut.
Yeah, to the camera folks. One more thing before we let you give these young ladies a standing ovation. I'd be remiss if I didn't, I said Scorpio, I think Libra. October, right? October
right,
7th. Okay, Libra season. But I will say this. If you appreciate things like this is really the first major kind of coming out event for Empower. If you want to be invited to other things that we are cooking up like this, shout out to the fellow board members, our executive director. Shout out to Santa Fe Community Foundation, but a big shout out to Sandra Sessions Robertson. Make some noise. I have her formal title, Vice President of Development and Donor Relations. She was the muscle behind all this good idea. But if you want to see things like this continue to happen in our community, the best way to do it is to, so you don't have to just hear about it like spread the word, is to give a donation, and then you're on this other list where you get emails about the things, however small. And if you can't give a donation, catch a donation. Tell someone you was here tonight. Tell them, if you know that they have the ability to give, that they should give to this thing. And that's how we're going to keep wonderful things like this happening in our community. But why don't y'all help me thank Dr. Opal Lee and Miss Dione Sims. They like you. They like you. They like you. I think there's going to be books somewhere. Is that right, Dione? Books are going to be out front, and we'll see y'all at the next Empower event. Have a good evening. Get home safe.